Hi, Aarti. A big welcome to you. We're super excited to have you with us.
Hello. It's great to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about how your career reached this path? You started off as a biophysicist. How did you get from there to becoming extraordinary storyteller?
It's funny, growing up in India at that time, we did not have the option of taking a science and an arts stream simultaneously or doing some combination of it. And so I had to choose between my love for biophysics and a love for writing. Well, I chose physics. But after I completed my master's, I was working in a lab and I knew that was just not for me. And I actually quit overnight and went looking for a job. And there was a glossy magazine in Bombay at that time called Society. I think it's still there. And the editor there just gave me a chance saying, yeah, join from Monday. So I was happy. And it ended up being an amazing learning for a year, on the job. I was a cub reporter, but it made me realize that that's exactly what I wanted to do. So that was the switch.
That's really good. Can you talk about how you've got to the point where you've become, a nat geo explorer? Can you tell us a little bit more about your grant, where it has taken you, and what kind of challenges have you faced during the course of this grant?
Sure. I've wandered a bunch since those days from society. I went to the US and I was in corporate life for 10 years and came back here and I was in corporate here as well. And then I decided it was time for me to do what I really loved. And so I quit the job. And then I had to start from scratch because nobody knew me and I knew nobody and I didn't have a body of work. And so I had some savings from my corporate life and I ended up using all of it, blowing all of it, going into field and building a body of work. And I had decided early on that I was interested in reporting on underreported issues that have to do with the environment, especially freshwater issues. And the reason I chose that was because I was privy right from childhood to raucous debates between my dad and my uncles about demerits of large dams, my father being whole hog against it. And I kind of knew that there was a lot happening in that area in the world, but also very much in India. And I knew that I wanted to report on rivers and how we treat our freshwater bodies, because that really is our lifeline. And so I started going to the desert. That's an odd place to pick, but I knew that there was a very ancient method of rainwater harvesting that was being resurrected in the desert. And so I started visiting the desert. I went there every month for about a year and a half, and I learned the rhythm of the desert. And that's when I realized that some of these stories that have to do with environment, are slow burn. They're not something that I can go for a week to some place and report on. It has to be followed over time, and it has to be followed over seasons, sometimes over years, to understand what's happening to the land. And I made a conscious decision there to be a slow journalist. And what that means is basically stick with a subject, maybe even just one story, but stick with it until you can understand the implications, why we got to where we are and where we're going from here. And so that was really important for me. And I kept doing that. I think I stuck with it for about 5 years. This was 2013 that I started going to the desert. And about 2018 is when I wrote for the grant and I got it. And before that, I wrote for many grants and didn't get it. So it's been a tough 5 to 6 years. But then when I got this grant, it's just opened a lot of doors. And that I think